Peace be with you. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. My name is Alan Kiesler. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late this morning. I'm in considerable pain, and I would like to request, first of all, before I begin the class even, if anyone knows a good homeopathic doctor, then please let me know. Please send me a message, or you can make it on a comment. A good homeopathic doctor who can perhaps treat me by the internet, or if you, especially if you know anyone in Northern California, a good homeopathic doctor who may be willing to treat me either for free or at a reasonable price, I would appreciate it. So today is Friday, Juma Mubarak, is October 14th, and we are going to discuss the structure of the universe, and I wanted to just preface this class by talking a little bit about modern science and the whole program of modern science, which is not at all what we are taught it is. Just like the secret space program we have been talking about a lot has been concealed from us, the media is cooperating with the secret government to try and hide all this information from us about the reality of the universe we live in and the programs in space that our governments have been doing. In the same way, many features of our life, including scientific knowledge, have been purposely misled. We have been purposely misled. We have been taught things that fit into a certain program that certain people have, a certain agenda, which is basically to keep us in ignorance, not to teach us the truth. So our modern universities, our whole modern educational system, is based on the principle to conceal the truth, not to reveal the truth. So this applies in many fields. I've talked often about the banking system around the world, the whole system of money, which is really just a system to enslave us and to conceal the truth from us and to force us into poverty and dependence. So similarly, the academic knowledge, scientific so-called knowledge, I should say, is also a similar program to deceive us. And just a couple of features that I will mention to start off with, that leading scientists in these different fields are aware of this. They know that there are many problems in what they're teaching and even many untruths in what they're teaching, but they go on because they have positions in academic institutions, they get fat salaries, and they get a lot of respect and other benefits, but they don't want to rock the boat because they will lose their position. Just like we were talking about Michael Salla yesterday. Michael Salla was a leading scholar, professor, political science, and when he learned about the secret space programs and he learned that the government was concealing that, he decided that the truth was more important than his position, and he lost his academic standing. So actually the same thing has happened in many fields. Just to give one other example, some geologists have discovered that the so-called history of humankind, where humanity is maybe a few 100,000 years old and human beings in, for example, North America are supposedly only here for a few tens of thousands of years. So when they discover strong evidence or clear geological proof that this scenario is false, and they try to promote it, they try to publish articles about it, they can't do it. The academic magazines, the academic journals, I should say, won't publish their information because they say it contradicts the theories. It can't be true. Even if it is very clearly true, they can't get their articles published, and if they keep pushing, they'll lose their jobs. I mean, it's a horrible thing, but it's a fact, and this has happened to a number of people. So I just want to talk about a couple of things briefly today. First of all, about the ether, and then a little about the sun and the electric sun, as we say. The sun is not what we're told it is, and scientists know that. And space is not what we're told it is. The famous Michelson-Morley experiment was conducted in about 1887 to try and measure the ether, or the speed of the Earth through the ether. In other words, the ether is we can call it a substance. It's the basic substance of our universe, and it is spread throughout space in all directions equally, and it is the medium through which light travels. So in this experiment, Michelson and Morley thought that if we can measure very accurately because they know that light travels very, very fast, but if we could measure very, very accurately in different directions how the light travels, we would be able to determine the speed of the Earth through the ether. So when they set up very precise experiments, in which basically what they did is they used the fact that light travels as a wave. This is well known. Interference patterns are created when the waves do not coincide with each other. If one wave is like this and another wave is slightly out of phase, then that creates an interference in the pattern of the light. So they thought they would be able to measure the actual speed of the Earth through the ether, and they were surprised to discover that no matter which direction they set up their scientific apparatus, that it appeared that the Earth wasn't moving at all through the ether, which was a big shock. But then they finally decided that no, there is no ether, and that light travels at a certain speed no matter what the position of the object is which is causing the light. In other words, just like when we hear a train going by us, the sound of if the train happens to blow its horn or whistle, as the train comes near us, the sound goes up. And then when it passes it goes down. So sound is also a wave, so because the engine is moving by us, the waves become compressed, or the waves become closer, which means a higher pitch. So the sound of the horn goes up as it goes by, and then as it passes us and goes the opposite direction, then it goes down lower because the waves are stretched out, because the horn of the engine is influencing the movement, I should say, of the engine is influencing the length of the sound waves, or the tone of the sound. So in the same way, this experiment was based on the principle that light is a wave, and therefore when we're moving in one direction with respect to the stationary ether, the waves should be slightly smaller. That is, the peaks of the waves should be slightly closer together, and it wouldn't be detectable by human sight, but by this scientific apparatus they hoped to determine this. And so finally what happened was that Einstein explained by his theory of relativity, and he became acclaimed as a great scientist who had explained, and then of course the light-particle dual nature of light. And with quantum mechanics it also became matter, electrons, and other small particles of matter also were said to have wave-particle duality. So this explanation is actually wrong. The fact of the matter is that there is ether. Of course, it's true that light moves at a specific speed in any direction, no matter what the source of the light is. But that doesn't mean that there's no ether. Ether is the source of the energy that can be derived from so-called empty space. So I don't know exactly what the motive was of the people who promoted this theory of empty space. It may have been that they knew even then, probably they were aware, that zero-point energy can be derived from the ether directly, which is full of energy. They therefore created this theory that space is empty, it's a vacuum, and light travels through a vacuum. We've all been taught that as we studied physics in high school or middle school even, or university. So that's just one point I wanted to make, that we have to understand that the whole of modern science is also based on not only wrong ideas, but intentionally promoted wrong ideas. Ideas that scientists know are wrong, but they promote them for a variety of reasons. And there's a very sinister agenda behind it all, which is basically to keep us in ignorance. So just one more example about the structure of the universe that's very important is about the sun, or about stars. The scientists know, and this has been known for a long time, that if, as the theory states, the sun is just a big hydrogen explosion, basically, that hydrogen and helium are continuously reacting, and just like a thermonuclear bomb, except that it's such a huge thing and it's going on for such a long time that it is sort of contained somehow within the sun, and that the explosions take place and then they go back into the sun. So that's basically the theory that we are all taught of what the sun is. But as is well known, when a hydrogen bomb goes off, or when there's this sort of thermonuclear reaction, neutrinos are given off, or neutrinos are recorded, and a lot of them should be coming out of the sun if it really is a thermonuclear reactor with like a big huge hydrogen bomb. But those neutrinos aren't there, they aren't detectable, and they should be. So scientists have known that the sun is not what we are taught it is. It's actually it's a totally different process by which the energy, it really has to do with electricity and gravitation and torsion fields. So this is a whole field of science which especially the Russians have been studying it and exploring it for a long time, and it's recently come out in the West also, but it's all in the alternative science, or the underground science, which modern academic institutions, Western universities, do not accept. They don't allow it really to be taught in the universities, even though it's a fact, and even though increasingly scientists are realizing this. So I just saw a good question here. How does light travel in a vacuum? What about electromagnetic and effect on these waves? Yes, it's a good question. How does light travel in a vacuum? Actually, it's not a vacuum. Waves don't travel in a vacuum. Waves are propagated in a medium, just like waves on water are a displacement of the water, which creates this ripple effect, so that the water doesn't actually move except up and down, but the wave moves. So there's a medium. The water is the medium for which the water wave, in which the water wave moves or propagates. Similarly, sound, I gave the example of the train. Every sound is propagated in the air. The air molecules are bumping each other. That's the theory that we're taught, and it may be true, but there's a medium in which the sound waves travel. So similarly, light is a wave which travels in the medium of the ether. So Akhlaq Hussein has written, ancient scholars believed that space was not empty but filled with ether. In Quran, space is described as full of many things. Yes, this is, now it's described as the ignorance of the ancients, that they talked about ether, and we intelligent modern scientists know there is no such thing as ether, but that is false. Ether is the basic medium through which light travels and is the basic um, feature or stuff, I guess, of space. It's a reality. It's a physical reality. So thank you for a homeopathic site here on the internet that Hamida Khan has given. I see here is another, thank you for doing this research for homeopaths. I have done considerable research myself on homeopaths in Northern California, and they are hard to find and they're very expensive. But so Shakil Ahmed has said, in Pakistan there are many homeopaths. Yes, I know. I have been treated by a homeopath, but he is not, he's too busy, I guess, now to attend to me. He's not answering my messages, so that's why I was asking for another one. Thank you here. I'm going back and seeing that others have also talked about herbalists and other doctors, so thank you very, very much for your help. I will follow up on any of these. But if any of you personally know a very good homeopath in Pakistan or wherever who can give me homeopathic advice over the internet, then I would appreciate that very much. So I'm actually experiencing considerable pain. I've had this before. Some of you know I've had a number of kidney stones, and it starts with the pain and then it gradually increases. And so it started last night, and when I woke up this morning I was in considerable pain. So I did take some homeopathic medication, which I do have, which my former homeopathic doctor had advised me to take, but I've been asking him now for advice and he's not responding, so I'm hoping that some other homeopath may come forward and help me, because I really have benefited greatly from the homeopathic treatment. And I've also taken some painkillers this morning in order to help me tolerate the difficulty of the pain. So here we have a couple of questions. I'll take these. I may make this a shorter class. But what's your view about an imminent Third World War over Syria? I'm really get a lot more worried about killings and etc. Thank you very much for that question. There is no doubt at all that the Illuminati, the cabal, the international bankers or banksters, and they want a Third World War for a variety of reasons, one of which is to conceal the truth, because the truth about them is coming out more and more. So they seem to think that if they can create a war, then it'll cause such a big confusion and disturbance that the truth about them won't come out. So they do want to create a Third World War, and they've been trying for some time to create a war with Iran or a war. But as I've explained many times before, of course, things can always change, but the Third World War, which was destined, which had been spoken of by many astrologers, prophets, seers, sages, they have predicted that there would be a great Third World War, after which the world would change. I know that that war was supposed to happen in 1999, but it was canceled. And some people may say postponed. I guess it's possible, because decisions made on higher levels by God or by representatives of God, powerful personalities who supervise the affairs of our world and of our universe, they can always change their mind. But I have no doubt at all that that decision was made in 1998. I have spoken about my attendance at a meeting. I was taken there, and the decision was made that that war, which was supposed to happen in 1999, would not happen. So I'm quite certain that this war, although the cabal is doing everything they can to start it, they're trying to, creating propaganda against Assad and against Syria to give a good excuse just like propaganda is being made against Pakistan to give an excuse to have a war against Pakistan. Propaganda has been made against Iran in order to have an excuse to attack Iran. So this is going on, but inshallah, that third world war will not happen because it's not necessary. A war is sometimes helpful, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's necessary. It causes a lot of suffering, but sometimes that suffering leads to a good result. But in this case, higher authorities have determined that it's not necessary. We're not going to have to undergo that suffering that we ordinarily would have. But because of the prayers and the sincere efforts of many, many good people all over the world, that destiny of the world has been changed. So please don't worry. Of course, it's very, very sad, all the killings that are going on, all the sufferings that people are experiencing, not only in Syria, in many places, in Kashmir, and all over the world. People are suffering in different ways. But my understanding is that that war is not going to happen. So we have another comment here from Tyag Srikantan. In the ancient Vedic Ayurveda, the 5 elements of nature, fire, earth, water, air, ether, he has written fire, earth, water, ether, air. I believe usually it's in a different order, earth, water, fire, air, ether is the usual order. This is the basic constituents of our existence. Modern day scientists, however, say there is no ether. It is true. Sorry, I came in late, so I may have missed something. Yes, you did miss. I was explaining very clearly that there is ether. And the modern scientists, many of them know that there is some substance, ether. But it is part of the disinformation program of modern education to conceal the reality of the world around us. It's not really meant to train us in the truth. Okay, so I'm getting more information about a good homeopath. Thank you very much. So, Hazrat Rahman, please, brother, please accept Islam? Question mark. So this issue comes up again and again, and I've explained many, many times. Depending on your definition, I am a Muslim, or I'm not a Muslim, depending on what you mean by Muslim. I believe, just like a Christian, it's not very important to be a Christian. It's important to be Christian, to be Christ-like. It's not very important to be a Muslim. It's important to be Muslim, which means surrendered to God and peaceful as a result of surrendering to God. So, as far as accepting Islam, what does that mean? Abraham was a Muslim. Everybody knows that. But he was long before Muhammad, so peace be on him. So how can it be? It means that Muslim means something different than what we ordinarily take it to mean. So Islam means surrender to God, and I am doing my best to try to be a Muslim. I'm trying to surrender to God at every moment. I'm trying to do what God wants me to do, what God directs me to do. So in that sense, certainly I'm a Muslim. I'm also a Muslim in the sense that I accept La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. There's only one God, and Muhammad is a prophet of God. I have no doubt at all that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, is a genuine prophet, just like Moses or many others. Okay, so I am a Muslim, yes. However, I believe all religions are good. All religions are equal, really. I don't see one religion as separate from another. So many Muslims think, therefore, I can't be a Muslim because a Muslim is not allowed to believe this. And so when I pray, I don't only pray namaz. I do pray namaz, not 5 times a day, but I usually pray at least once every day, the namaz, because I benefit from it. You become aware of the exalted presence of God by doing namaz, so I appreciate that. But I also say prayers of other religious traditions. And some Muslims don't like that. They say, no, you can't do that if you want to be a good Muslim. So in that sense, I'm not a Muslim. So you can take that as you do, but this issue has come up again and again. I just give the same answer every time, so I hope if it disturbs you too much, please forgive me, but that is the position that I've taken. I'm getting more advice for kidney stones and for homeopathy. Thank you very much. And the demo, your mobiles could be muted. Yes, I usually do that. Let me just do it right now, because somebody is, yeah, you're getting some tones. Thank you very much. Please explain the basic structure of the universe in more detail in future. Yes, this I definitely am doing. This is one of the main purposes of this course, is to discuss the basic structure of the universe. And very, very simply, I have described this already, but I'll just repeat it, that our universe is multidimensional. So what we experience as the universe is only a tiny fraction of our actual universal reality. And furthermore, according to my understanding, there are many universes. So even if we could explore the entirety of our universe, there would be other realities beyond it. And separate from our universe and perhaps other universes, there is also another realm of existence which is separate from our dimensional existence, which has many dimensions in it, and that is what I call the transdimensional existence. And that existence is eternal, whereas our universe and all the other universes are, which are in this dimensional world, they're all temporary. They are created at a certain point, and after some time they merge, maybe is a good word. They merge into the undifferentiated matter, you might say, and then after some time they are recreated or they re-emerge. So this material world, we could say, is temporary, but the spiritual world, or what I call the transdimensional existence, that is eternal. And although some people find this a little disturbing, I've been there, and I've discussed this a little bit, and that world, I've been there, and I've seen the fact that there are millions or billions, I don't know how many, they're uncountable, spheres, shining golden spheres. And that is our goal, to go there. That is our real home. That is the purpose of human life, is to understand that transdimensional existence, which is where God lives, and to go there. So that's the most important understanding about the structure of the universe. And we all, inshallah, will go there eventually. And if we're fortunate and we get good guidance and we practice well, then we can go there at the end of this lifetime. Otherwise, we may have other detours, and we may, if we use incorrect methods or we don't use proper methods, we will suffer a lot, and we have to undergo suffering in order to wake us up that we should pursue the correct path of enlightenment and the path of love and kindness and mercy. That's the basic feature of the right path. So we pray daily to God to guide us on the right path. So that's what we all should be doing. And whatever religion you belong to, it doesn't really matter. What matters is to become religious. Or, in other words, it doesn't matter if you are a Muslim, become Muslim. It doesn't matter if you are a Christian, become Christian. It doesn't matter if you are a Hindu, become Hindu. In this, of course, Hindu is a little bit different than Christian or Muslim, because it just means literally Indian. Hindu means from that area of Hind. But in the Sanskrit scriptures themselves, this word Hindu doesn't exist, but the word is Sanatan Dharma, which means eternal religion. So become dharmic. Don't worry about a dharma or this. Don't worry about if you belong to this dharma or that dharma. Become dharmic. Become religious. Become attuned to the truth of spiritual reality and the truth of God, and serve God and serve humanity. That's the important thing. It doesn't matter if you belong to this religion or that religion. Actually, all religions are part of just one universal deen, one universal, what is the right word in English? I don't know. I guess religion is the word, but religion is associated with this religion or that religion or this religion. Whereas in Arabic we have, or in Urdu, we have the word mazhab, which is usually used to describe this religion or that religion. And then we have deen, which is an eternal truth, which all religions are participants of. All religions are parts of. So, okay, I wasn't planning to get into this discussion, but I see it's going on about that. We have Naeem Haidar saying to be a Muslim means to believe in one God, no one to share with him. So in that sense, I'm certainly a Muslim. Wow, you've been to the other world and come back. I'm amazed. It was a very interesting experience in which I was taught by in the Monroe Institute how to travel out of the body. And it's not that difficult. Anyone can learn how to travel out of the body. Actually, we all travel out of our body. At night when we sleep and dream, we're actually traveling out of our body. And when you learn to do that, then, and this is Robert Monroe, who's the founder of Monroe Institute, he had done this a lot and was very, I mean, it's just amazing the things that he did and the confirmations that he was able to do this. But he would come to a certain point when in his travels going farther out into space, he would come to a certain point where there was some sort of barrier that he could not pass beyond. And he wrote about this in his last book called Ultimate Journey. And so when I met him, again, he had passed away from this body, but in my travels out of the body, I met him, and we discussed this barrier, and he said he would like to go beyond that barrier, and I told him I can help you do that because I have learned the technique. So we did, and the technique, as I've explained before, it basically means the mentality, the consciousness that one must develop is one of great humility, sincerity, purity, and intense focus on divinity. And in that state of mind, one must be willing, this is what I told Bob, or Robert Monroe, that you have to be willing to give up everything, even your knowledge. So that was a little hard for him because he was a scientist and very interested in knowledge, but he agreed that he would, at least temporarily, at least as an experiment, he would just give up thinking that he knew or understood anything. So in that mood of humble surrender, being willing to give up everything, then we were able to pass through that barrier. And on the other side of the barrier was this world of light, and many, many millions, or uncountable numbers of shining, glowing spheres. So I understood from my previous study that we were in the transdimensional existence, and he immediately took off. He saw those spheres and he just immediately went down to look in one. That's not what my plan was, because as I've explained before, the center of the transdimensional existence is the abode of God. And I wanted to take him there, but he wasn't willing to wait to do that. He just wanted to immediately explore what he could see. So yes, it was a great mercy, I would say, that I was actually able to go there. And it's possible. What are the practices to go there? I would say the most important one is chanting, meditation, in which the name of God is repeated. It's called zikr, or just meditation using the name of God, any name of God, whether it's Allah, whether it's Jehovah, whether it's Ram, any name of God that you repeat, it brings your consciousness to a higher level. And if your heart is pure, if you're sincere, but really that's the main requirement, if you're sincere, then by that process of meditation and chanting, your consciousness can be prepared so that you can travel not just out of your body in this universe, but beyond that barrier between the dimensional and transdimensional existences. So Zen means deen or path. Yes, deen means path in English. Yes, so we're all following the path, the deen, all of us means all of us who are sincere and want to know the truth, we are being guided to that path. So Nusrat Jabin has also asked the same thing, to share some practices. Well, there are many other practices also. In fact, every religion teaches those practices. Prayer, fasting, pilgrimage, giving charity, all these practices assist to go beyond. So it's not anything new or unusual. It's just that we have to understand that this is a scientific practice. It's not a religious belief that chanting the name of God is beneficial. It's a scientific fact. We just have to sincerely, pure-heartedly practice. Any religious system with good guidance will bring us to that point where we can go beyond. Interstellar, Nusrat Jabin is writing. It's actually much more than interstellar. Yes, it's true that we can travel. In fact, I've been. Let me just give a little bit of background about this. When I was a young man going to college in Alabama, I met a Christian minister who told me, we became good friends, and in the course of our discussions, he told me that he had been to the moon. This was 1970-71, just a year or two after the so-called moon landing, which was supposedly the first trip to the moon of human beings, when Armstrong and Aldrin stepped on the moon. So he told me that he didn't deny that they had been there, but he said he had been there, but not using a rocket ship. He said he was able to travel, and he described things, and he wrote a book about it, in which he described many scientific details also about the speed you would have to travel to escape the Earth's gravity and all this. He somehow got this knowledge. And the moon that he described was a little different than the moon that the astronauts saw, which means there are multi-dimensions of the moon also. So I then, later, not right then, but later, I tried to do what he had done, the practice that he had followed, to leave your body. And it wasn't until many years later that I found out about the Monroe Institute and that they were teaching the same thing. But it's really, you have to change the level of your consciousness. The brain waves reflect the level of awareness, the level of consciousness. So deeper trance states are what we usually call them. We have delta, then theta. Theta is a deep state. Alpha. There are different states of the brain which reflect different, or correspond to, maybe is the right word, different levels of awareness, different types of consciousness. So by going into a slower mental state, where the brain waves slow down, you can actually become aware of your conscious existence separate from the body, and you can leave the body, and you can travel interstellar or wherever. And Nusrat has written again, Subhanallah, our Prophet has already been on Miraj. Yes, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, was transported interstellarly, in fact, to the abode of God. And although there's some controversy among Muslims whether he actually saw God or not, personally, he definitely came into the presence of God. And so that's possible. And we are very, very fortunate that he has given us that example. He's shown us that it is possible, so we can be encouraged that if we follow in his footsteps, we become Muslim, not a Muslim, but become Muslim, then we can also, if that's our desire, we can also travel into outer space without a spaceship, and we can go to the sun, just like this Christian minister I had told you about that I met in 1970-71. He had been to the moon. I decided once, well, let me try to go to the sun and see what's there. And I did. And this was about 1978-79, when I had been practicing for a number of years. And at least that's what I experienced. It sounded kind of astonishing, but I went to the sun. I went into the sun, and inside of the sun, there was a whole civilization. And in fact, I met the king, you might say, the ruler of that civilization. And I was quite shocked when I came up to him and met him. He treated me very respectfully. He was sitting on a throne, and he stood up to greet me. He was very generous and very kind. I was expecting that I would have to, bow down to him maybe, but he treated me very respectfully. So these personalities are there. And these may be other dimensions. I don't know if, we would probably, if we went in a rocket ship, we'd burn up long before we got to the moon. But if we travel out of the body, not in this body, but using the subtle body, then we can actually go into the sun and meet the inhabitants of the sun also. So the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, traveled throughout the universe, to all different levels of the universe, and ultimately to the throne of God, to the ultimate supreme abode where God himself lives. So we can also do that. In fact, that is the goal of our lives. And many people think, oh, that's too difficult, it's too far away, but no, it's not. God is, as the Quran says, nearer than our jugular vein. Allah is right with us, right here. But his abode is far away. Or, because it's a dimensional existence that we're living in, transdimensional existence can simultaneously be far, far, far away in terms of dimensions in our travels, but at the same time be right here, because it's outside of dimensions. That is, the transdimensional existence is outside of all concepts of dimensions, all concepts of space, all concepts of time that we have in our awareness. So this wasn't my plan to talk about traveling to the sun or the moon, but I did want to share with you to understand that the basic feature of modern science is not to give us education, not to train us, but to give us a little bit of knowledge that can create technological artifacts, can create results which we may use or misuse, but to keep us in ignorance about the true basic structure of reality, to keep us in ignorance of the fact that there is a transdimensional reality. Modern science has no concept of God often, even, what to speak of the abode of God. So we're being taught that there is no ether. We are being taught that everything is a vacuum, space is a vacuum, there's nothing in it, it's empty, it's void. That's impossible. There can't be a void, there has to be something existing everywhere. And the whole of space is pervaded by this ether, as the ancient philosophers knew, and as was idea in Western world also until 100, 150 years ago. Only during the 20th century and end of the 19th century this idea started coming out, that the space is a void, a vacuum. That is misinformation, or to be more accurate, it's disinformation. Although many people, scientists, teachers, are promoting that idea without being aware of it, that idea is intentionally being taught by those who, at the top of the pyramid, you might say, they know that it's false. And ignorant people at all levels below that, they may think it's true and they may be teaching it, and they know there are certain aspects of it that work, but they know there's certain aspects that don't work also. But because of the whole setup of modern academia and the educational institutions with the positions that one is supposed to be firmly in, but one can be kicked out even of a tenured position if one goes against the system too strongly. So thank you very much. I think we will end now, and I thank you very, very much for all your good advice about homeopathic medicine and practitioners, and I will report to you tomorrow. I hope I'll be better, inshallah. And if this morning I was in great pain. I had to take a hot shower to try to relieve the pain, which was very effective, but that's really why I was late this morning, trying to handle that pain. And my homeopathic doctor had told me that it's okay to take painkillers. They don't interfere with the homeopathic medicine, so I did that, and I'm feeling better now, whether it's the result of that or of your association. So I'm very, very happy to have these classes and to see all of your comments and to be able to discuss with you. So thank you very much, and we will see you tomorrow morning. I'm sorry I was a little late this morning. Hopefully I'll be on time again tomorrow, and may God protect us all.